thing up. What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to Jedi Jive. This is Jedi Jive Live number 8. Congratulations. Wow, 8 weeks in a row. It's gone by like so quickly. Also, Jedi Jive just passed 4,000 subscribers the other day. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's keep it going. We're going to have all new nerds with us again. John and Dylan, as well as Jenny. If you guys haven't been to All New Nerds yet, please go over to All New Nerds, subscribe to John and Dylan. We're going to try to get them to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. That's my personal goal. I don't know what these guys are doing, but yeah. So we're going to give it a couple more minutes. Sorry for the late start, everybody, but we'll be beginning in a couple minutes. Guys, we're going to be talking more Falcon and Winter Soldier. Notice how I remove the Falcon and Winter Soldier, just flows off the tongue so much better, if you ask me. Anyway, we're talking episode 3, Power Broker. Lots to talk about. So I hope you guys brought some good questions. Okay, here we go.
Water.
What's up, everybody? We got John, we got Dylan, we got Jenny. Let us know if there are any sound issues.
Yo.
Hi guys.
Hello.
What's
All
up?
right. If you guys can hear everybody, let us know real quick.
I can hear
All right,
everyone on my
Nice.
end.
Oh boy, okay. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 3. Power Broker. We got a lot to talk about.
Lots.
So
Definitely a lot
much,
to talk
man.
about. So, like, right off the bat, like, for me, just like when I, like, Dylan, you said you just watched the episode, right?
I literally
So it's
5 minutes ago
fresh.
just got off
Super
the
fresh
couch
for you.
and
So I don't know,
hopped on
like,
my computer.
I'll talk to you. I'll ask you first, like, what, like, currently, like, right after just watching the episode, like, what's the freshest on your mind right now? What are you thinking about the most?
Fresh on my mind. Let's see. So I'm actually really excited to see where Zemo goes after this, because I can see there's a little subtly like some, there's some bad in him still. Like I noticed when what's his name, Bucky, like started doing some Winter Soldier stuff, he had like a smile on his face, like it's like, oh, this is all part of my plan. I also got a lot of Power Broker stuff on my mind. He's about to be the big bad, I think. And I think we're gonna get a lot of John Walker next episode. I think we're gonna start seeing a lot more of him, and you can his downward spiral is really starting to go.
Yeah, I agree, because we said we did get some John Walker in this episode, but it was limited compared to the the Zemo and the Sharon Carter, and definitely a lot of Bucky and Sam too.
For sure.
Yeah, and for me, the reason I ask you, Dylan, is because this was definitely like a Zemo episode, but it was also a Sharon Carter episode.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even think. I forgot all about it. Yeah.
And a lot of people,
She was great.
yeah, a lot of people are pointing out that this episode had like major John Wick vibes, and for good reason.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of people saying
I
this.
said that, yeah.
Yep. Derek Kolstad, who's the screenwriter for all 3 John Wick movies, was the primary writer for this episode. So
That's right.
Yeah, not only from
I didn't know that
I didn't
trivia,
know
but that
that.
actually checks out. So
Yeah, that was sweet.
Because
How
like
about
one of the
that-
things
the
we
very
were
end,
thinking,
too?
and it was just like, wow, that whole Sharon Carter action sequence was like very John Wick, very like assassin, like whoa, she's like a lethal weapon. Like we knew that Sharon Carter, like she wouldn't be working for Shield to begin with or whatever to be.
she was the CIA. She was the CIA.
Yeah, she was
agent.
already a badass. Yeah. So
Yeah,
For sure.
But
and Bucky
obviously,
was
like,
fighting too in the club. That was cool.
this is supposed to be
Very
like
John
what,
Wick.
like at least 5, 6, 7 years after the last time we saw her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
which
is
would have
changed
This
been
was
a
so
lot,
far.
too.
crazy episode to me. I mean, it was a normal, the same length as any of the other episodes, but it simultaneously went like really hard and really deep on some of its sociological underpinnings, but also like every single storyline was dealt with at some point. We got Sharon, we got Zemo, we got references to the power broker,
We got Wakanda.
we got Wakandans.
Let's go.
Yeah,
We got like
let's
some
go.
really heady stuff with Carly Morgenthau and the Flag
Yeah,
Smashers.
she was great. She was
We got some insight into John Walker and his relationship with Battlestar, with Lamar. So like every single, not to mention Sam and Bucky and all the things that we love and hate about both of them. So it was like every single possible thing got some action, but it wasn't like skimming over them. It somehow managed to dig into all of that.
There's
in the
so many
space of, like,
elements. There's
less than
so
an
many
hour.
elements.
So
I mean, and
much.
this episode just added like 2 or I don't know. I guess a couple.
Lot.
But I mean, the
Yeah.
big one is now the involvement of Wakanda and the
Wakanda
Dormalaje,
has
so.
entered
Yeah,
the
that
chat.
was, I don't know if everyone
You wanna
remembers,
get right
that
to
was
it.
Io. She's the second in command to Okoye.
Oh, okay. So that
Yeah.
actually was like
yeah,
a
so you know
existing
Denai
character. Okay.
Guerrera, the amazing actress from Walking Dead, and she's a playwright. She plays Okoye, who's the head, like the general of the
Yes.
Dora Milaje, the army of Wakanda, the all-female army. And so that's like her second in command is Io. So she was
Io,
in
right.
like Black Panther and Infinity War and Endgame.
She was in Civil War too. She actually the first
Interestingly,
Dormalaje
yeah,
we've seen.
she's been around for a while. That actress, incidentally, the actress herself is German, which is just, that's sort of a
Oh,
random
wow.
piece of trivia, but it's interesting because like so much of this has been taking place in and around Germany.
Right.
And Danielle
That's
Brühl is
interesting.
German. So yeah, it was very interesting. I was psyched to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hustle Mando, our old friend Hustle Mando. What's up, buddy? He
Hustle
pointed out
Mando.
yeah, I wanted to talk about this too, about how like we were talking about how Carly was being humanized and like they were showing like the human side of her, but then like she did straight up blow up a car in a building and probably killed some people. So
Yeah, put your
can't
seatbelt on.
just-
Put your seatbelt on.
we can't just be like, oh, she's she's not bad, because clearly she's crossed the line and is, yeah, like they're humanizing her, but they're also showing that she's a little mixed up.
Yeah.
I think it's just
Yeah.
yet another example, which they keep giving us. Marvel continues to give us of how under incredibly stressful circumstances, good people can do bad things. And we shouldn't treat our enemies as animals, as savages. We shouldn't dehumanize people. We should try to understand them even when they've done something bad and need control or correction or reformation, whatever that
100%.
is. And we're being given examples of people who have done absolutely unspeakable things. Bucky, for one, has done like the worst things and is given a second chance, but how not everybody is given the same second chance. Like Isaiah
Right.
Bradley did nothing wrong. He was the injured party. He was the abused party.
Right.
And instead of either apologizing for what they'd done or glorifying him for his achievements, he was punished. And Sam's getting no reward for all the things he's done when he's done nothing wrong. And then this woman, Carly, her people hadn't done anything wrong, and they were being put in the settlement camp, forgotten about, abused. So the whole thing to me is that some people get like infinite second chances here, and some people never even get a first chance despite not doing anything wrong. And I'm not excusing killing innocent people for no reason. Like what she's doing is sort of like the definition of objectively wrong. But we do understand where she comes from and how she became radicalized in the first place. Like how much can a human take before they kind of snap and go nuts and do something bad in retaliation? So we really understand like how she got this way.
I'm just loving the gray areas that Marvel in general is starting to introduce more ever since like, I mean, even since like the first Iron Man movie, like it's always kind of been a theme. But no, I think
Tony
it's
himself.
Exactly.
Not a crystal
Not the
clear
best guy,
character,
yeah.
not the best guy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'd
And it's
argue.
like,
I'd argue
it's
this
really
show
coming out in
is Just argued this show that this is really exploring that line. So
100%
Yeah.
with every character, it seems.
Yeah, and I know that the
Yes.
racial themes have been playing like particularly strongly, with people who that applies to, because I've seen a number of people in their like videos and their vlogs saying like, wow, like I didn't realize Falcon the Winter Soldier was going to trigger me so much. Like African Americans saying like that's happened to me, like when Sam gets pulled over by a cop, or like when they that whole police scene right after Isaiah Bradley, and people saying like that triggered me, man. Like I didn't realize that this show was gonna be that deep and that real.
It's so like nail on the head. I mean, because right back to what I just said, at no point in his career has Sam done anything wrong. He was like a war hero, served his country voluntarily in the armed forces, has been helping veterans voluntarily, became an Avenger. He's only ever done good things in service of America. And once again, Bucky is like the ultimate criminal. And yet when this random cop stops them, the immediate assumption is the black guy's the criminal and he must be hassling the nice looking white boy. And he's got it backwards, but like it's realistic. It's just the actual world is like that.
All right, so let's try to stick on this episode. I know I digressed there a little bit, but I want to go back to Sharon Carter a little bit, and because there's one of the like blink and you miss it kind of that slipped through the cracks important moments that I saw in this episode was right after Sharon left. We see her like go into the alleyway, and she has like a little butler lady waiting for her, and she hops into a car and is like, we got like problems or whatever. So this implies that Sharon definitely has something else going on and we don't know what. And the two main predictions are either she is like a deep ops SHIELD type agent and she's doing undercover stuff and Sam and Bucky are about to blow her cover, or she is the power broker. I think the first option is probably more likely, but also I think we don't want to get into Evan Peters territory. Sorry for dropping your name. Sorry.
Stop it. Don't do that to John. It's me. Don't do that to John.
I can do have a couple theories, but that's crazy actually.
David Palmer says Sharon is a Skrull. Yeah, everyone is potentially a Skrull.
Yeah.
Anyone's potentially a Skrull.
We'll find out soon
Secret
enough.
Invasion
We'll
is
find
coming,
out
so like quite literally like any character is potentially a Skrull.
next year. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
doubt that's going to be
that.
dealt with in the course of this show, which seems very grounded and committed to real world problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I really struggle with getting my head around Sharon as the power broker. I've seen more than one person say that. That would be such a 180, even for someone who's been treated badly. It just seems so out of character.
Oh,
and
you know
so
why? You
unlikely.
know what? No, she's not the power broker. You know why we know? Because she came into the doctor's lab.
Yeah, she's in the lab. I was just
that's
gonna
right.
say that too.
Yeah, he
She
would
didn't
have
say
known.
anything.
He would have
Yeah.
known exactly.
Although, you know what? Maybe not necessarily, because maybe he doesn't communicate directly with the power broker's
Right.
face. Like, he might just be, they might be emailing each other.
The way they're setting that up, though, do you know when they went into Lowtown in Madripoor and they saw there was like the graffiti on the wall that said the power broker's watching?
Mhm.
And I think that is a deliberate and direct 1984 reference. The big like catchphrase is Big Brother is watching.
Yeah.
And you don't step out of line. Like everything is corrupt, is being run by power hungry, corrupt people, but you don't step out of line because you're always being watched. The idea of a surveillance state, which in fact we actually do kind of have. Like we have cameras everywhere, whether that's people's cell phones or CCTV or whatever that is. Like we really do live in a surveillance world. And so I think that's an intentional reference. And it alludes to the idea of like authoritarianism. Because what the Flag Smashers want here is like to return to the borderless one world nation. In 1984, they have basically one world nation. There are like two countries on the whole planet. And one of them is run by big brother, basically, who's, you know, the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain. No one's ever seen him or, you know, whatever. But it's this idea that having a borderless kind of world peace society isn't as nice as it might seem, because if you're living in an authoritarian state where people are afraid to step out of line or afraid to do anything that might anger this like invisible hand, that's not necessarily more desirable than the conflicted multi-country world that we live in. So just the idea of like world peace doesn't come without strings. And I think that because of the Flag Smashers story, how it seems like they want something nice, but they're trying to get it by doing something really bad. And this idea of the power broker watching, I think it's all this idea about like the slippery slope towards authoritarianism and towards like fascism in this world.
Yeah. David pointed out something that I was thinking about. Everyone in the club recognized Winter Soldier, but no one noticed Sam Wilson just because of the... No, he was supposed to be like that
suit was
name?
dope.
Smiling Tiger!
Smiling
That's
Tiger.
actually a character
Tiger.
from the comics too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he looked at the picture and he says, "Wow, it actually does look like me." He was supposed to.
Did? I was like, what?
And the
Yeah.
bartender
That suit
even
was
like
a
knew what his
zoot
favorite
suit
drink
made out of
was.
Yeah,
dashiki
yeah.
material.
That was
so
that
cool.
was
He
a
looked great.
dope ass suit.
He looked
Yeah.
great.
That was,
Yeah.
he did
Yeah,
look
some,
pretty
some
dope.
people had pointed out that Smiling Tiger was a real character from the comics.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So one thing, David Yao says, also the power broker seems to be an established person, which I agree with, because I don't think they would bring an entire new character without introducing him like early on. Like it, you know, I think it already is a character we have met.
Yeah,
by
because
going
otherwise
by
when we
this-
first meet him, it won't be that shocking. It'll just be like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah, I'd be like,
whoever.
oh,
It's
this
just
actor.
another guy.
Right. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like this. So
Okay, so then we've
yeah.
already who we had on our list. We've had Arnim Zola was on our list, right?
Arnim Zola is up there and would make, I guess, the most sense, but I am rooting for
Oh yes,
Tell us.
Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer. I like
I would
this.
lose my shit. I can't
I
even
would
handle it. I
lose
can't even
it.
talk about it.
I think that.
Chat,
that
what
is
do you
a
think about
great-
Justin Hammer?
I love that idea.
What do we
I
think?
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Especially since because technically the last time we saw him, he got defeated by he was put in his place by Tony Stark,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And he got sent to prison, and he's out now. He's gonna be the same Justin Hammer that he was before.
Yeah, and he has a lot of influence, but I think he'll back off the Tony thing and kind of go into, maybe like, oh, Cap's interesting too, and like the serum stuff, and I just think it would totally make sense for an evolution of his character too.
Yeah.
I
well,
love
I mean,
this. And again, I don't want
maybe.
to go down like Quicksilver territory either, but
No,
like,
no,
I'm,
screw it. Let's do it. Let's get crazy. Let's
I'm
get
obsessed
nuts,
with
right?
this
like
theory.
theorizing though.
I
Yeah,
love
this is why we're here.
this theory so much. Like I want that so badly now that you've put it in my head. If I saw Sam Rockwell show up, I will absolutely
I will lose
scream.
it.
I will
And
die.
these
I will
these
lose
theories
it.
are going to be either right or wrong within a week or two. So
Right.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's got an
True,
expiry
it's
date.
true.
I feel like there'll probably be something in episode 5. No, I mean, I'm not saying that for sure, but it's probably
Well, I
episode
think
5 would be something like a reveal.
John mentioned this to us a moment ago. I pointed out the last time we saw him like in the films in this MCU was in Iron Man 2 when he
Iron Man
was
2.
defeated. Not our favorite movie, but he was amazing. He was so great. And that's the last time we saw him. So like way back in the day. But there was also a Marvel one shot that
Right.
you don't need to see them to understand what's going on in the films, but they honor the
They
continuity
add
of the
like a
universe.
nice little context to the.
They add a nice little context, and there was a Marvel one shot. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch all of the Marvel one shots for free on YouTube, where we were at Seagate Prison, which is also the place where Luke Cage was experimented on and made into Luke Cage. So it's a prison within the MCU, where Justin Hammer was in that prison, and also the fake Mandarin, Ben Kingsley,
Trevor
Trevor
Slattery, I think he was
Slattery
called. Yeah.
was in that prison, and then somebody comes in on behalf of the real Mandarin, on behalf of the Ten Rings organization, which we know is also coming. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings show is coming.
Mhm.
So Justin Hammer, just sort of as like a little bit of fan service, I guess, was in the same prison, and it kind of gave a little more depth to his character. He had a prison boyfriend. It made it pretty clear that this character is gay.
Yeah.
Which would be a big deal in the MCU. It will be interesting to see that, especially because he's also like a villain, but he's so lovable in so many ways. I would lose it. I would absolutely lose it.
Interesting. Aurelio seems to think that it wasn't Sharon that sniped Selby because she was already at the end of the chase alley. Power Broker had to have. I mean, it's possible. I mean, because we just discussed how Sharon has something else going on in the background. We don't know who she's working with or who she's working for or what that is. So she may have other people working with her. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But
Yeah,
right
I mean,
off the
we
bat,
know
were
she's
like,
against
that was
the
Sharon.
government right now. Like the government's not.
Yeah, we've already
messing
established
with her,
that she's
so-
She's trying to
like,
get pardoned.
Yeah.
What they talked about how she's basically like selling stolen artwork. So she's
Yeah.
embraced the
Like got a
criminal
black
life
market
too.
up.
Right.
But it is
Probably.
also possible. I mean, your other theory, Mike, that you said was that she could, and that some people have mentioned, is that she could still be working for Shield or
Mhm.
Nick Fury,
Yes.
which is like
Mm.
always a possibility.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like always a possibility.
Okay.
Especially
see
since
that.
we
You
know
know?
that that's coming, like
But-
Nick Fury. And
Yeah, I could
Skrull.
see that.
Right.
That could totally happen. I feel like with the theme of the show right now, where it's like there's no fairness in this world. Like she even mentions, like, Sam, you got pardoned and you did worse than I did,
Or
sort
to
of.
Bucky, you mean?
Yeah, that was
Bucky,
a great
yeah,
scene
Bucky, yeah.
when
Yeah,
Sharon
sorry.
was confronting Sam about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
there was
Sam,
that line.
Sam even made like well, I was on the run too, and she's like, well, you're an Avenger now, and I have to
Mhm.
live in Madripoor.
Right.
Yeah. He said like I was pardoned and she said is big difference.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
line that like
yeah.
really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Hustle
And then
Mando just
he-
said this, but
yeah.
Madripoor looked beautiful.
Pretty.
was
It was
sweet.
so beautiful.
I loved it.
Yeah, we pointed
gorgeous
out
to
that it
look at.
wasn't just Madripoor. That actually, for me in general, this episode was full of audiovisual candy. Lots of good music, lots of just good
Mhm.
visuals.
The music was
Madripoor
awesome.
in general, yeah, was definitely had that.
But also like the cars, the
cyberpunk.
classic cars that Zemo had in that garage.
Yes.
like,
Yeah, that
Oh
was
yeah,
cool.
Zemo was really interesting this episode too, because we've never seen him be called Baron Zemo, and like we've
Mhm.
never seen this
Yeah,
Baron side of him. So
Yeah.
like he's like loaded with like all these
Oh
cars
yeah, that
and
was
money
like the
and
first
stuff.
time we heard him say like he just called him Zemo. He goes, "I am
It was,
a baron."
yeah, it was just
Yeah,
Helmet
man.
Zemo before.
Yeah, yeah. So
But this is another great little, like, very subtle nod to like the many arms of American imperialism, because he says like I was royalty until you people came and ruined my
Yeah.
country. Not unrealistic. There are like deposed former aristocrats running around all over Eastern Europe, like penniless, absolutely broke, but technically barons or dukes or whatever. So this is like actually completely believable in the real world, apart from the
As far as
super
returning to Madripoor, I think definitely because it would be kind of weird to set up a location like that with that much.
Yeah, I mean it
depth
has
and
a
then
lot
not-
of going. It has a lot of stuff going
Yeah.
on that could
Yeah,
be in future.
and currently,
stories,
as far as we know, Sharon Carter lives there, and we're going to be dealing with her more. So
Yeah.
that was her place, right? So
there
that's-
is some.
yeah.
I mean, in the if you want to go to the comics for a second, like mutants and specifically Wolverine has a lot of involvement in that. So
Yeah.
maybe that's another place we can. Yeah, it's a place we can revisit down the line. So
I love
Okay,
I
so-
love the way Zemo was like really subtly and sometimes not so subtly crossing the line here, and he kind of
Yeah.
knew he could just get away with it, like
Mhm.
taking Bucky's book and just
Yeah,
reading
or
off the
making Bucky
names,
be
like-
his bodyguard because he knew Bucky had to stay.
Yeah.
in character,
Yeah, exactly. And
where he's like
it's
Winter Soldier attack.
right,
and
like
then
he
Bucky
still
just lays
he's
waste.
still scheming, you know.
Yeah.
Like he's still got
100%.
that
And he's
in the
playing with
back
them,
of
like
him.
he's pushing their buttons on purpose to see like what it'll take to get a rise. He even said like that darkness is still inside Bucky, and
Yeah.
he's determined to draw it out, like for his own entertainment as much as anything
Yeah.
else.
And
you
Sam
know?
too, like the kind of anti-patriotism stuff that Sam's kind of I feel like
Yeah.
starting to develop. Like Zemo is kind of lighting that spark a bit more too. Like on the
what?
plane.
Yeah, what do you
said
do
some
on the
things that Sam
plane?
kinda-
There was something on the plane. I'm trying to
he
think.
just kind of talked about. Well, he
messed with
got
them
the
on the
book.
plane. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
He talked
the book.
about
And he
Like
mentioned the old man's
Snowman.
name.
Yeah, and he kind of
He
just like talked about
spoke
his
in-
motives.
He spoke to his butler,
Mhm.
and said like if
His
there's any
butler.
food that went bad. I have some info about this too, by the way, Mike. But you know, if there's any food that went bad, give it to them. Like he knows he's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
charge. He's
Huh.
not
Right,
afraid
and
to
he
like,
knows that they need him.
yeah.
And like they're not gonna kill him. Like they're not gonna. I mean, they might put him in prison again, but as long as
Yeah.
they need him, he's out.
And that is we talked about this, but that is an extremely slippery slope for Bucky, who
Yeah, he's offending him a little bit
He
though
has-
too.
he
was
um,
like
he's
towards the
getting
end.
under his skin though, which is dangerous because Bucky, we
Yeah.
talked about how Bucky's recovery from brainwashing is being treated like an addiction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's engaging currently in extremely high risk behavior.
Right.
He's already broken in the course of this episode. He's broken rule number 1, which is don't do anything illegal. And he's well on his way to breaking rule number 2. I don't think he himself has like killed anybody on purpose yet, but he
Was it specifically
basically-
killed or was it violence? I can't remember.
Don't hurt anyone was the rule,
Don't
and
hurt
he
anyone.
instigated
Wow.
a
Yeah.
He
prison
did hurt
riot.
somebody.
Like he
Some
instigated a
people,
prison
so.
riot where people probably
Yep.
killed each other or stabbed each other or did something.
Most likely.
He's sort of given his stamp of approval to Zemo
Yeah.
killing people, being like,
Yeah.
it was a means to an end. He had to get it done. So he's like he's breaking eggs to make an omelet, but that is a very slippery slope to him
100%.
just giving up all the progress that he's made.
Yeah, I saw some people
It's
pointing out
dangerous.
where he basically set up a situation where Zemo could escape by himself essentially, but then they were like, I hope Zemo's not killing those guards, because if he is, that's on Bucky.
That's
Yeah,
Bucky.
yeah, exactly.
And he
That, you know,
he killed
You're
the
accessory to
doctor.
murder, man.
He killed
Right.
the scientist. He killed those dudes with the explosion outside
Yeah.
the container. He's killed several people since they busted him out of jail.
And actually, I want
ultimately
to talk
that's
about
on
this,
Bucky.
Jenny, because you pointed out very astutely that Bucky's problem is being depicted exactly like an addiction.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted
and
to
this is
talk
high
about
risk
that.
behavior. He really
Yeah,
is engaging. He's
Mhm.
backsliding. This is like if you are in recovery for alcoholism, one drink is enough. Like it's not. There are a million excuses, but like one drink is enough to set you completely back to square one again, to make you completely regress. So he's regressing at an exponential rate. He broke rule 1 just by instigating that prison riot, just by breaking Zemo out. Not to
Yeah.
mention the aspect of he lied to Sam. He didn't tell him about it because he knew Sam would say no. He
Mhm.
knew Sam has his boundaries intact. Sam's not by the book. He's a free agent. He's willing to go a little bit rogue, but Sam's boundaries are clear.
He's willing to bend rules, not break them. Yeah.
Right, exactly. His boundaries are clear. And then when they got in the car and he said to Zemo, no more of that shit.
Yeah, and Zemo
he
even
is
had that
not
specific
okay.
line in the bar where Bucky started kicking butt, and Zemo whispered it didn't take much for him to slip back into form or something like that.
Exactly.
So he's trying to sow discord between the two of them too.
And the first interaction that he and Bucky had, he starts saying the trigger words again, seeing if Bucky would react to them. So right off the bat, his primary interest is just trying to get the Winter Soldier to come out again, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't want to stray too far from this conversation, but it's just been on my mind since I watched the episode. Did Bucky imply that he might take the shield and use it himself? Or I don't know. He
Sort of.
'cause
Yeah, he did.
Because Sam says that he's going to he was like, I'm going to take that shield and throw it in the garbage, or I should have destroyed it. And and Bucky was like, this represents a lot of things to a lot of people, including me. And I'm going to take that shield myself, or something like that. Or he's like, I'm going to rip it from John Walker.
Yeah.
Whether he said
Because
it or
he
not,
needs
it
Sam
seems
to have an
likely
interest in
that
getting it.
it
Yeah.
seems like he might go that far. I mean, he's reacting more from emotion than from fic or practicality. And Sam still has his head on straight. Sam's head is squarely on his shoulders, but Bucky is increasingly sort of reacting out of emotion and desperation. And that doesn't lead anywhere good.
Right, for sure.
Especially when you have someone like Zemo involved.
Yeah.
This is some cute information. When they went onto that tarmac and he had his private plane waiting for him and his butler, who I guess has known him his whole life, Mike and I, it didn't end up in our video, but we both immediately had a vocal reaction. Mine was, oh my God, he's got his own Alfred. Wrong universe. But it seemed to me so much like Batman and Alfred in that sense.
Yeah,
And then
for sure.
Mike's
there was.
reaction was, I bet this is an Easter egg. I bet this actor is somebody that was in something one time. So I looked this up. This actor is named Nicholas Pryor. He's familiar to me primarily as a series of really unloving fathers in the 1980s. He played Tom Cruise's dad in Risky Business.
Oh my gosh, it's that guy.
It's that guy. He's a lot older now. He's
But
really
has,
old.
he
was
had
born in
a Russian accent he put on.
he
for
was
this,
doing
though,
an indeterminate Eastern European accent in
Yeah,
this, but
yeah.
he is American. He's a stage actor. He's this old Broadway guy who played Tom Cruise's dad in Risky Business, and he played Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s father in Less Than Zero, which is the one where Robert Downey Jr. dies of a drug overdose because James Spader won't stop giving him heroin. And so that's where he's familiar to me from. But I looked
Okay, so
this
he's
up.
not a Marvel Easter egg, though.
No, and I don't
Yeah, okay.
actually think this is an Easter egg. I think this is a coincidence, but it's so beautiful that I have to mention it because even if it's just a coincidence, it's amazing synchronicity. He had a small role in a 1985 film called The Falcon and the Snowman. I am not making this up.
Wow.
It is a true story based on the autobiography of the guy who's the main character. It was directed by John. It was directed by John Schlesinger, who is the director of Midnight Cowboy and Marathon Man, like an Oscar-winning director. It stars Oscar winners Timothy Hutton and Sean Penn, and it is the true story of a U.S. military contractor who, in the course of his job, becomes increasingly disillusioned and disgusted by what America and the CIA are doing behind the scenes.
Okay, no, that's
He's
not
a real
coincidence.
guy. He's
not a
an Edward-
coincidence.
100%.
No,
Alright,
he
so
was
that
an
was
Edward-
definitely purposeful. This is
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
it's
purposeful.
so he had a small role. He wasn't one of the main characters, but I was like, it's so crazy. There's so
Yeah.
The
it's a real
Falcon and
dude.
the Snowman. Okay,
and they were
That's-
called
yeah.
that
I
because
love that.
the Timothy Hutton
Winter
character.
Soldiers. Yeah.
Snowman.
The Timothy Hutton character in real life, the guy whose autobiography this was based on, was an expert in falconry, which is so random.
Yeah.
And so his like CIA code name when they were like trying to hunt him down was Falcon. And then his childhood best friend, played by Sean Penn in the film, was a drug dealer. So they called him Snowman for cocaine. And basically this dude, this military contractor, was an Edward Snowden type guy. He was on the inside and he was like, wow, America's doing bad things and I'm not okay with it. And he and his best friend became Soviet spies. This is a true story. And that dude who plays the butler, the Alfred type guy, was in that movie. And I was like,
Okay.
shut the front door. Like,
No,
go,
that's
go.
That's so funny.
100% not a coincidence.
That's
Definitely
weird.
not.
The
That's
Falcon
way
and
too
the
I
weird.
just found something. So the co-executive producer Derek Kolstad of the show was on a podcast, and he did say that, I'll pull up the quote so I don't misquote it, but he said there are characters from the earliest of the Marvel movies that will be appearing in the
So
show.
we'll have our eyes peeled.
Okay, so wait, that could be Justin Hammer, John.
That could be Justin Hammer. That's
Yeah.
pretty early.
It was,
That's
like,
pretty
super
early. Again,
Yeah,
that was
that's
like-
Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
It was
What's
like
that,
Iron Man
2010?
1, Hulk, Iron
That's
Man
the
2.
third
right?
MCU
It's
movie.
The third MCU movie.
Third
from, like,
MCU movie.
2010.
Wow,
So-
Yeah.
I think the Justin Hammer theory just got like a big
Yeah.
Ah,
a big
but
step
al-
up.
but
right now.
also
Can't
that
handle
could go for Arnim Zola too, because he was in
Yeah,
the first
that's
Avengers.
true.
So,
That's true. He
but
was like in the first
I would
Avengers film.
love. I've always wanted Justin Hammer
First
to come
Captain
back,
America.
so I would absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing with Arnim Zola is that like I don't consider him like physically threatening in any way, so it's all just sort
Well,
of
they could do the comic look with
yeah,
the,
like actually have him be a giant
Be
Yeah,
like a
robot.
robot with a screen.
Yeah.
Either
the
that
like
or, you
Krang
know,
from Ninja Turtles style.
Yep. pretty
in like
much.
Captain America, the first Avenger, he was a technically proficient. He was an engineer. He had the like technical knowledge, but he was working for Red Skull, who was like a more physically imposing or more immediately threatening
Right.
guy, or you know the Nazi that became Red Skull.
Yeah.
It could even potentially be both of them. He could be like using his skills as a computerized avatar to help Justin Hammer. I mean, maybe there's
We
both
got a
of
Red
them.
Skull
Yeah.
reference this episode.
I was about to say you don't. Yeah, they did. Oh, not a reference. Yeah, you mean Zemo specifically mentioned.
Yeah,
Red Skull.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like a direct
And that was actually
reference.
during a sequence when like we kind of Jenny, we were like, wow, you cannot disagree with anything Zemo just said. Like he just dropped a bunch of truth, and it was kind of that was one of those revealing like, wow, like Zemo is. They're including him in the list of people where it's like, okay, it goes both ways. Like he's not necessarily just some nefarious like mustache twirling villain. He definitely has just got his own background, his own story, his own motives, and you know,
Well, he's
obvious,
another example. I mean,
obviously he falls more on the evil side of the spectrum, but it's
he's
not
but
necessarily.
for me, this is also a similar story to like Carly Morgenthau. Like right now, we're enjoying Danielle Brühl. I enjoy that actor in general. He's
Yeah.
so
I
multifaceted,
love
but I feel like this is the role where he's being allowed to like just fucking have fun.
Yeah.
You know, he has much more character development and we get to see more of his personality than we did in
Yeah, a bunch of the
in
laugh out loud
Captain
moments
America.
were included Zemo. Like
him
almost
just
every time
saying
we
completely outlandish things. I think I'm
or
invaluable.
him dancing in the club, like
Yeah,
all of
that's
that.
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my
Yeah.
The
god.
moment
that-
where he was like, Trouble Man captures the
I'm gonna
African
gif of
American
that.
experience, and Sam
Love
was like, shut up, but he's also
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Like,
he's got a line, but he's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that I love that actor, but we're seeing this sort of comic relief, love to hate him again, just like Loki. He's a very Loki-like
Mm,
character with
That's a
his.
great comparison.
He's always
yeah.
got an ulterior motive, but he'll help you if it advances his own interests.
Right.
Like if it'll help get him out of prison and help him destroy the super serum and whatever else.
What do
he'll
we
work
think
with
his
you.
motives are, though? Something to do with the
Questions.
serum or
I
something?
mean, he doesn't
to...
want any more of that. But for me, I mean,
Yeah.
we have to go back to that character's origin story, which is that he's Sokovian, and
Well, wait a minute. He doesn't have
Avengers-
motives yet because
well, does he?
we,
though?
we
Because
just
he's-
broke him out of prison. Remember when Bucky mentioned that there was super serum happening again? But Zemo instantly looked like, wait, what? Like he
He was
like,
surprised.
yeah.
But
So
my
this is
point
all
here
new
is
to
that
him.
like he was Sokovian, and the Avengers, his whole family died during the episode in Sokovia with the Avengers. So it's a similar thing with Carly Morgenthau, which is that he's collateral. This is, we were talking before about The Boys. This is something that the show The Boys really explores, which is that when you have superheroes like running at top speed and like breaking buildings, there's collateral, people die. And we talk about like the heroism, the like heroic acts, and we don't talk about like the common citizens who get caught in the crossfire. And so his family got caught in the crossfire, just like a bunch of his wife and his children. It's another type of trauma, just like everyone else in this show. He's been through some real shit, and he has good reason to dislike, to have this hatred for enhanced people, because without super serum, without superheroes, his family would be alive, just living their little, displaced royalty life in Eastern Europe.
Sure.
And
100%.
he has like a legitimate beef with them, but he's gone off the deep end. He's gone too far. He snapped.
Because just like
You
Carly, like she has those human moments, but hey, we saw her blow people up.
She
So
blew people up.
and
Like-
okay, Zemo has this human background, but we saw him shoot that doctor in the face. Like it's not.
True. It's true.
So those are that's the difference between them and Sam, at least.
Yeah.
And we're saying that Bucky has been trying to not fall back into that, but he's, like you said, he's breaking eggs to make an omelet, and which is not acceptable.
So something I realized is that we got a common enemy here. That Carly and the Flag Smashers are kind of against the Power Broker, or the Power Broker's against them because they stole the
I think
serum.
everybody is.
Yeah,
John
exactly.
Walker
And
yeah.
Zemo is clearly has beef with the Power Broker, and I guess Sam and Bucky probably will have more to do with him as well.
Yeah.
Right now, they're kind of just like whatever, like Power Broker.
Well, you
but-
know, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was about to say it's not necessarily Carly that has beef with the Power Broker. She just stole
Right.
his serum, so
Exactly,
he has beef
exactly.
with her.
She's
there is,
potentially
like,
afraid
yeah.
of him or her or whoever this
Yeah.
turns out.
they're
to
on the
be.
run from him. I mean,
But
or he
definitely you
has,
can
like-
tell that everything's going to meet at some point where
Exactly,
you're going to have
right.
everything
Yeah.
converge at one. Everybody's going to be pointing guns at everybody in the room at the same
Right.
time.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
Yes.
literally.
who am I
Like
gonna shoot
like
kind of
a
thing.
five-way Mexican standoff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
It's like
there's still this thing with Sam and Bucky, because I mean they said it even in this episode that they're going to go and take the shield. Like this is
Yeah.
going to happen.
Right.
Well, we
yeah,
know
at least
this is
Bucky
leading
did.
to like Sam accepting the mantle of Captain America ultimately, right? Like
Alright,
that's
so
what we're supposed to
This
assume.
brings us back to the John Walker situation then, which is we didn't get much of him in this episode, but we did see him at least start to be like, oh wait, what was it we said was unexpected? Okay, we expected him to start going crazy, which we see him do immediately.
Yeah,
he rages on that
he-
guy, and you're like,
yeah.
okay, there's the John
We
Walker.
didn't
Yeah.
expect him
There's-
quite
there's
so
US
easily
agent.
to be okay bending or breaking the rules. 'Cause he
Yeah,
was-
but then he goes out and is like, all right, we need to start breaking rules because like this isn't working for us.
and
So-
I mean
yeah.
this is not lost on me that like that's a similar dynamic between Sam and Bucky. That John Walker's like the line was something along the lines of, do you think they're gonna hassle us about the how if we get the job done?
exactly.
And Lamar was kind of like, okay, slow your roll. Think about what you're saying. And it's kind of a similar relationship that Sam has with Bucky, where Bucky's like, come on, it's a means to an end. Maybe those people had to die. And Sam's like, chill out. Think about what you're saying. So they both have these sort of, in both cases, it's honestly, I don't think it's an accident. In both cases, it's kind of a white dude assuming that they can just get away with whatever they want. And the person who knows how America actually works being like, wait, chill out a minute. Like,
Yeah.
think about what you're saying. We have to consider the consequences.
David Palmer has an interesting question. He says, now that Carly has all the serum, will Power Broker come for Isaiah to get more blood? That would be intense. And my answer to that is no, because they
scientist
shot the
side.
doctor,
How
and the doctor kind
classified
of
is
implied,
Isaiah?
the doctor implied that the Power Broker needed him to even do the the medical related stuff or whatever. So
Right.
I think now
okay.
that one doctor is dead, like that's it. I think that the serum that's remaining is it.
Does the Power Broker know about Isaiah? Is that
I would think so, because that
I
would be
think-
where the doctor got the blood
The
from.
doctor,
right?
what was the doctor's name? I can't remember, but the
Nagel, is it?
doctor, yes, Nagel,
Yeah.
Wilfred
Yeah.
Nagel. He
Someone else mentioned
said
that Nagel
they-
is in the comics as well.
He
Yeah,
is. I did look
Somebody
that
noted
up.
that, but he mentioned when he was telling them his tale that like he had been given a vial of blood from an early super soldier person, and we were like, oh, that's Isaiah. They gave him Isaiah's blood. So, but yeah, I mean, they don't have the lab, they don't have the doctor. How easy is that? We don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
What
And I think David
what was in
Yao-
Sam's drink? What was in Sam's
David
drink?
Yao mentioned
What part of the snake?
I kind of just
venom, I
assumed that he put some snake venom in there because it
Yeah.
would, not enough to kill you, but enough to make your mouth burn and trip.
Yeah, there's just
basically.
a chunk
it's like
of
a snake bite with
snakes.
real snake bite in it instead of,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. David Yao had mentioned somewhere up here, he said, we were talking about Zemo and his motive. His motive is to destroy all super soldiers. And I agree. I think as far as motivation goes, that's why he was so interested immediately when Bucky was like, there are more super soldiers, because this is, he does his revenge is against like the reason his family got killed. That's like his underlying motivation is like, get rid of the people who were responsible for killing my family. So I think that, I mean, he scored a big point by killing the doctor and getting rid of the lab where the serum was developed, but there's going to be more to that story because these other 12 doses are out there with Carly.
Yeah. Sean Banks says, I think Walker will turn on Battlestar. Yeah, I mean, that seems very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Because
Yeah.
Battlestar definitely seems like a disposable character, if you ask me. I know that it's not because
In the
he's black,
comics.
not because he's black. I know that that's the token, like, you're the token black sidekick guy and you're going to die first because, hey, that's just another topic. But
I don't think he'll die. I think he'll honestly. I mean, yeah, he's not too prevalent in the comics, but I think he could be a hero that
he
could
though
continue
if he
on.
tries to stand in John Walker's way and be like, "Hey, man, this isn't you. Like, this isn't what we're here to do. Like, we're not."
Right, and they
good,"
start fighting. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he,
That's fair.
that would
Well,
be the way that it would
imagine.
go down.
I wonder if him and John are gonna get their hands on serum, or John at least will. Maybe
Yeah,
I think
this
John's
last
gonna get
one
some
is
Strong
serum.
possibility.
Sure. It's
But
It's
imagine
like-
it's pretty
if Battlestar
inevitable.
takes the serum and then kind of reluctantly, and then after is like, you know what, I'm not agreeing with you, and then he could become a character down the line. That'd be cool to have him as an Avenger.
Hustle Mando says, so there's 12 doses left. We know that there were
Yes.
at least 8
Yeah.
super soldiers because Bucky and Sam fought against 8. And
Yep.
then Nagel said that he had made 20 doses and Carly stole them all. So
Yeah.
that would be 12. Maybe there's some, it's somewhere, maybe there are some other flag smashers who have already taken it. So it's not clear, but we've probably got, roughly half of the 20 left. And she wanted to give it to kids.
Yeah, but also there could be, it's not just the Dr. Nagel. It could be like the United States government also is hoarding it too from
Right.
Isaiah Bradley days.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like,
Which
yeah.
further goes to play up the whole, like, really, like, the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are good guys and there's gray area everywhere. It's just, even the United States of America can be bad depending on where you're looking at it from.
Well, not even, like, obviously sometimes it is. Like the Isaiah case is the perfect example. That's bad. And like the way, all the other social issues that we've seen examined are really being shown to us in very
And also,
stark
it was a
ways.
little bit. Maybe I just wasn't listening closely enough. But Carly did kind of talk about how they were intending to give those remaining doses to kids, right? Like kids that are oppressed and
Yeah, like the younger
underprivileged and-
generation. Yeah.
that are in like this settlement camp where she was, or that have been abandoned and forgotten about.
Yep.
Mike and I talked about this a lot, and I said, obviously, she's not trying to build a powered army. She's trying to help the children themselves.
She's trying to equalize an imbalance.
Exactly. She's
Yeah.
trying to provide some kind of equity that the world has not given to these kids. If the world won't take care of them, I'm going to give them the ability to take care of themselves. But when we think about that, there's the obvious tie back to Isaiah, and in the real world to Tuskegee, to the U.S. government experimenting on Black men without their knowledge or consent, or like sterilizing Native women without their knowledge or consent. But then there's the also very, very specific reference to World War II. Joseph Mengele was a wackadoo scientist who worked for the Nazis, who experimented on Jewish children in concentration camps and did like crazy mad scientist experiments that sound like sci-fi, like crazy weird things. But that's, again, we have the World War II era Bucky and Isaiah and like
Right.
Red Skull sort of references going on. And I think we're meant to think of that, which is that even if she thinks she's doing a good thing, this is something with a very bad history, and we can see how this has turned out. And I made the point that regardless, children can't give their consent. You can't consent if you are a minor. So there's like she's definitely crossed a line.
Yeah,
The
Sean
Robin
Banks
Hood
says,
stuff, when they stole that food, that scene where they stole the food and supplies, like I can get behind the Robin Hood stuff.
yeah,
Nobody should have 6 months of supplies in a store when people are starving,
Then
around
she
the
blew it
clock.
all up.
I can completely get behind the Robin Hood motive of stealing from the rich to give to the poor.
no, John,
100%.
they stole the goods and then they blew it up.
Then
Then
she
they blew
blew
it
it up, and
Yeah.
and
There
it
were
was
people and
not
stuff.
necessary. And even her little partner was really shocked. And again, it's the same thing as like Bucky breaking Zemo out of prison without telling Sam. She just made the decision. She made the decision for all of them, which affects all of them and makes all of them wanted terrorists without telling any of her collaborators about it. So that's a little bit authoritarian in and of itself. She's gone too far.
Sean Banks had said, do we think this version of the serum has any side effects? And then Hustle Mando was like wondering the same thing, but the Flag Smashers don't seem to have side effects, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess is true. But also, one thing that popped into my head when John Walker had that, where he was like, do you know who I am? And he slammed the guy up against the wall. I was like, wow, that's roid rage. That's like, so like not necessarily like steroids, but like you can see John Walker like taking the serum and then having it give him like a psychological
Even worse, yeah.
go
Have that be
rage,
even worse.
rage, yeah.
The same reason, you get like
He will get
the
violent.
Hulk and the Abomination,
More violent.
like
Sure. Or
Hulk was
also
able
kind
to
of
learn
like
to control
the
himself, and the Abomination became monstrous.
That's right.
There's, this is something we've seen. That,
yeah. Also, though, the Mandarin. What was the Mandarin's name? Not Ben Kingsley. Guy Pearce.
Adrian Killian? No.
Killian. Yeah.
oh
Killian.
yeah,
Killian,
Killian, him. Yes.
Adrian.
Iron
Anyway,
Man
the way
3.
he points out in Iron Man 3 about how this could work on your body or it might not work on your body. Some people
Right.
it takes, some people it doesn't. You might explode, you might become superhuman. So maybe there's that kind of component too, where it's like you could take super serum and then
This is
crazy
back
like John
to
Walker.
like Captain America, that we've talked about this before, but that the reason Stanley Tucci chose Steve Rogers was because he saw him being selfless, and he saw him having a certain personality type before he was the big guy, while he was still the little guy. And so it's like anybody else who went through exactly the same scientific process as Steve Rogers, but didn't have that same personality or that same predisposition, wouldn't have made the same Captain America that Steve Rogers did. So it's not just about Steve took some drugs and got big and strong. It's the fact that Steve was Steve to begin with. And
Carly
John
does
Walker
say-
clearly has some deep-seated insecurities that are gonna get in the way if he takes a big, powerful drug, right?
100%. Yeah, Carly does say like she does point out that like her veins were on fire when she took it. I mean, that could just be a
That's right.
throwaway line.
You're right. I forgot
but-
about that.
You're
She was
right,
like- She said she was in
100%.
so much
No, there's definitely
pain.
more to that though. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also
Brian had
really
pointed out that
noticed-
the AIM thing was what was Killian stuff, and that was I
Yeah.
wasn't saying it was the same thing. I was saying it was like a similar.
You're
effect.
comparing the
Hustle
two. Yeah.
Mando, I was just remembering the same thing. Dr. Nagelgeist did say he had perfected the serum, and that struck a chord in my head. That was one of those things where like a little red flag went up in my head. I was like, perfect, nothing is perfect.
No, the way I took
Yeah.
that, Jenny, the way I took that was him saying like, well, now you don't have to get in like a pod
Yeah, you don't have
and
to
get
have
like
big
you.
muscles
I can
to
literally
be
like
normal.
inject it into you and
Yeah.
you're done. Like that's kind of what I thought it meant.
That's
Now it's in
that's
pill
what he
form.
meant, but again,
It
like
should be
his-
dependent on who is getting it. It'll be
I
dependent
think,
on that.
I think the fact remains, like he means you're not going to get all bulked up like Steve Rogers. Steve was a tiny dude and he became Chris Evans. But
Sure, yeah,
you
because
know,
Carly
you don't have to
Morgenthau
go
still
through
looks
that
like normal
process.
Flag
size.
Smashers
Yeah.
still have their normal bodies.
That's true.
But
True.
but again, he said it's perfect. And when he used the word perfect, I was like, buddy, nothing's perfect. There are always
Yeah.
consequences.
Well,
Very
So-
true.
Carly does say also, I think she's like, I thought I was gonna die, and I mean, she also throws in, I wish I did or something like that, but like, or
Yeah,
I wanted
while
to.
it was happening, she wished she was dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I know someone we know now that doesn't have it is going to get it. So
Yeah.
it's most likely going to be
100%.
John. So we're going to see like that process and going to kind of see like what it does to someone. Yeah, like because I mean Carly mentions it that like she wanted to die, and so I wonder how John will kind of handle that. So that'll be cool. But
Yeah. And that is just
Yeah.
like the AIM thing, right? Because I remember him pointing out, like, when he shows Gwyneth Paltrow going through he shows Pepper going through the process, he's like, yeah, she might live, she might not. But he's like, but right now it's just excruciating pain.
right,
So
and, and her veins were glowing. I mean, it's kind of the same. Yeah.
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 Similar.
Well, and
Extremist,
again,
it's
his
called.
character, he himself was this guy with he had a disability of some kind. He walked with a cane. I think he had a club foot or something like that. Remember, he had one like at
In
the
Iron
beginning
Man
of the
3?
movie. In Iron Man 3, Guy
Yes.
Pearce at the beginning
Yep.
of the movie was like this little wiry guy who had like glasses and bad teeth and a club foot, and he walked with a cane, and he was this little dude, and Tony Stark was a playboy and was just kind of being a dick to him and not listening. And then when you get further into the movie, like, he's Guy Pearce, he's suave, he can walk perfectly, like he's this good looking man, and like there have been effects on him because he's a person with a flawed personality or with insecurities or a chip on his shoulder of some kind as well.
Brian, just to catch you
maturity
up,
of character counts.
he was asking about Sharon Carter, and we were talking earlier about Sharon Carter, about how we don't know her motives. She obviously has something going on the side. She could be the power broker. She could be working for the power broker. She could be a Skrull working with Nick Fury. So right now, the biggest questions are definitely around Sharon Carter and what's going on with that, because yeah, that was interesting.
Another character that was from the comics that is different in this was Selby. Selby I didn't read too much on him. He was a man in MCU. It's a woman.
Okay.
But
so they've done this a couple times, turning male characters into females in this show.
Right. Like Carly Morgenthau. It was Carl Morgenthau.
Carl.
Yeah. And so maybe they do it with the power broker too.
Can we go into what this thing about Wakanda means? Because I think we touched upon it. Because what does this mean for the show, and what does it mean for Bucky?
Well, it means the Wakandans definitely don't want. They want. She said, "We're here for Zemo." Like they knew he got out, and they're.
Oh, well, he killed T'Challa. He killed the king.
Yeah,
Bucky
he killed the king.
Seems like he's a Wakandan agent a little bit.
Somebody in our comments had made the same.
Oh, you mean like
prediction.
he wasn't? He knew that lady was coming. He says like, "Well, I was wondering when you were going to show up or whatever."
He's like, "Yeah, I'll go."
But you're saying that he might have like actually like been expecting her ahead of time, not like.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. I don't feel like we have enough information.
And it would explain why he's wanted to keep Zemo around.
We do know that Bucky feels a particular allegiance to Wakanda. Like he mentioned that when he was recovering. Yeah, White Panther, White Wolf. We know that that was the only time he has ever felt at peace, was when he was like in his little Zen retreat in his like mud hut in Wakanda, like working with Shuri. So this is like the only time in his life he's ever felt like kind of happy since he became the Winter Soldier. So it would make sense that he has like an allegiance.
Right. But I think what's going on is I'm pretty sure this happened. Like I could just be making this up, but like I think there was this kind of push to be like, okay, Zemo, we're going to throw you in prison, and Bucky kind of seemed almost against that. So what I think is going on now is the U.S. has him in prison, and so that's U.S. jurisdiction. But now that they're outside of the U.S. and it's United Nations. I think I screwed up.
Yeah, he was in prison in Germany.
Yeah,
he was in a German prison.
I'm sorry. So that's outside of Wakandan jurisdiction. So I think now that he's out, Wakanda's gonna take him, and that's why I was there when we saw her. But also, I do think that Bucky. I mean, I heard this thrown around, but like Bucky could be like kind of like a Wakandan agent a little bit.
Either
and
that
that's
or
why
like
he wanted to keep Zemo out of prison.
Like a modified version of that would be that if he made a deal with Wakanda, like, look, I'm gonna get this guy out. Like I don't. It's kind of a betrayal of Wakanda to release the guy that murdered their king, right, and framed him for it. So maybe he made a deal with them, like, look, I'm gonna break him out. I know that's bad.
So it's just like a complicated extradition, basically.
Wakanda wanted Zemo, but they couldn't get him.
So maybe Bucky's deal is let me use him for my ends, and then I'll give him to you, and you can have him.
Yep.
That would make sense.
Yeah. And that's why he went to them and broke him out and this and that and the other thing. But
you're saying it's like an extradition then, basically. They're just trying to
maybe
move him from their prison to our prison so that we have jurisdiction over what.
Yeah, because in Black Panther they were like Wakanda wanted to take him.
So you don't think Wakanda just wants him dead? Do you think, or do you think they do want him dead?
Or whatever the justice system is like in Wakanda.
Wakanda is a very just nation. But maybe they want the agency to make their own decisions about it.
Right. So,
yes, this is definitely a possibility.
So
he could be a double agent, kind of still with a, and not in a bad way, because like in this, obviously the U.S. is doing bad things, but we're not like it. He could have this like he's American, whatever, but he also clearly has an allegiance, a reasonable allegiance to Wakanda, which we know is a just nation with like a code. So maybe he has like cut a deal with them to like get what he needs out
Totally
of Zemo.
lines
and
up because
turn over
Wakanda
custody.
has wanted Zemo in their jurisdiction because I mean T'Challa at the end of Civil War was going to take him, but then the whole thing. So yeah, I think it totally lines up.
Further complicate the whole like Bucky's being pardoned and given a second chance by
Right.
the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So
Right.
he doesn't necessarily have a good reason to go against that if it means it's gonna.
But does he have a good reason to play by the rules? Because again, like how
But then
can he
again,
have
there's
any
this
sort of
emphasis on
play?
Wakanda. There is this emphasis on Wakanda and the peace he felt there. So again, I do think there is
Maybe he wants to go
probably
back.
the strongest allegiance he has is to Wakanda. So
Do you think we'll see Bucky become the White Wolf? I mean, I know they kind of teased it a bit, and it's maybe some people in
Kind of.
Wakanda have
You mean does he
called
have
him
like a
that.
specific
honestly could be
costume
the
in the
title
comics?
that he
Right,
kinda
right. I mean,
takes
because in the
from the
comics
show.
he does have a suit and stuff, but obviously
Yeah.
the movies and shows can go
We've
different
ta-
ways.
we've
Dope if
talked
he
about
does.
I
this
don't know though.
before.
Hold on a minute. I was gonna say because they specifically have that scene with Sam and the kid being like, "Why am I the Black Falcon because I'm black and I'm the Falcon?"
Right.
So that kind
That's
of
true.
does the same racist thing, but with white people. If you're gonna go ahead and name Bucky White
Right.
Wolf,
Well, I'm just
now,
thinking
but
because it is like
Yeah,
from
I
the
mean,
comics.
it
and,
is
like,
from the
he
comics.
is-
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
from
is
the
already.
comics, and also like in
I think it was more of a
Wakanda,
throwaway
he'd
joke.
be
I
like
don't think-
one of
yeah.
very few white people, if not the only one, because it was until recently a hidden country.
Right.
So I mean, in Wakanda, it would kind of make sense to be like the White Wolf, or
Well, it
know,
seems
Well,
like
yeah,
they
if
gave
we
him
think
that
about
name
it,
too.
Yeah.
Just
It's called
considering
Falcon
because
the
when
Winter Soldier, and we know that Falcon is going to be Captain America. So what about
both
Winter
evolve
Soldier or
into their
Bucky?
own.
Well, and
Is
we
he going
talked
to
a
get
bit
a new
about this
title?
like 2 episodes ago, which is that obviously he's trying not to be the Winter Soldier. That's everything
Right.
bad that has
That's-
happened
yeah,
to
he
him.
wants to be something.
And Bucky Barnes was alive in the 1940s. Bucky Barnes, the character, doesn't make sense
Is
in
gone.
2021.
It's pretty much gone.
And it's an identity crisis for him. How do
Right.
I, a 106-year-old recovering brainwash assassin, exist as a human
So does
in
he become the
2021?
White Wolf at the
So
end of
maybe
this?
he
Is this his
becomes the
new?
White
Maybe
Wolf.
in the next
Right,
Black
maybe he
Panther
adopts
movie,
a new
we have White
identity
Wolf and the Black
because
Panther.
he needs someone to be in this world.
Yeah,
To
I know.
me, that makes sense.
There's also though the problem with like we obviously as the audience as viewers like we love seeing our favorite characters kick ass and we want to see more of it and all that, but at the same time it's like I've mentioned this in past streams. Steve Rogers got to go back, live with his girlfriend, turn into an old man, and be happy with his life after doing everything. It's like Bucky deserves a chance to take a fucking break and not
Sure.
have to be an Avenger anymore, or not have to be constantly at war. Like part of me is like, no, you know what? I hope. Whether he's the White Wolf or not, I hope he does get to go retire in Wakanda and like not.
Yeah,
have
I
to-
think he's gonna settle on Wakanda.
It's
I
like
have
the
a
guy
I
is
hope so,
106
too.
years
now,
old. Let's
now
let
that we
him-
know that Wakanda has an involvement in the show, I feel like that's
Yeah.
where it's going. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, whether it's like he gets a costume and becomes the White
Yeah.
Wolf, honestly, I don't even care. I think
Yeah.
the salient point here, I mean, it'll be cool if it happens, but that's not even what's in my head. In my head, I'm like, he needs an identity that belongs to this time and
Right.
place,
Yep.
not
For
to
sure.
100%.
Hydra, not to the 1940s. He needs.
And there
he
is a
needs
Wakanda
someone-
show coming out,
Yeah,
a series specifically about
True.
Wakanda.
and Black
so-
Panther 2 is coming out
Right.
without a Black Panther, without Chadwick at least. So
Well, without Chadwick, yeah, there might
yeah,
be.
so
Yeah.
they have they did say they're not recasting the part. They're going to move forward with the
They
story of the other
They
characters.
made
Thank
the right
God.
choice. That would be
Thank God.
that would be
Good
very,
choice.
very
That would be
upsetting.
awful
So
and sad. But like that maybe there's a place in that story for him. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think he needs to figure out who he is and who he can be in this time and in this place and in this world, which has also changed post Flip.
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
total
So-
sense for an evolution of his character. So especially
Yeah.
what we know right now. So yeah.
We don't still think there's any romantic implications between Peggy and Bucky, right? Like I remember that was kind of theorized before that
You mean
that could
Sharon?
happen. Sharon,
Yes.
sorry.
Sharon.
I personally didn't see it.
Yeah, but
but-
I don't.
If
Yeah, I don't
anything,
think so.
she had a moment with Sam where he was like shirtless and he looked great, and she was kind of
Yeah.
like, okay. I
Yeah.
actually was
Yeah.
like, I don't know
I
if
could
that's going to
honestly
be
see that.
anything, but she
I
gave
could see
him a
that.
look. Yeah, she had a
Yeah.
look over his bare
Yeah.
chest. So
I could totally see that rather than
Yeah, although there are 6 episodes in this, we're
Bucky.
already 3 episodes in, so it might seem a little bit late
halfway
to try,
there,
and
yeah, yeah.
try to establish something romantic now, unless you were going to try to play that romantic story out like in another series.
In a future
I think they
film.
would have teased it. I feel like they would have
Exactly.
teased it right now. So
Yeah.
I think they teased it more. Yeah, like you said, for Sam rather than Bucky. So
Yeah.
they got a lot to deal with in the course of 3 more episodes. I mean, we've got like not only the Flag Smashers versus all of our other guys. We've got the Flag
there's so
Smashers
many elements.
internal
There's so
conflict
much.
of, like,
There's so much.
Harley going rogue, we've got John Walker and whatever's going to happen with him and his, you know, his potential to go dark. We've got Zemo and what
Power
he's
broker,
up to. We've
yeah.
got who's the power broker and what's that
Yeah.
about. We've got like Bucky's potential relapse. We've got like the relationship.
Wakanda
with
stuff.
them. We've got Wakanda. We've got so much
Sam's
to deal
sister,
with.
Sam's sister in the boat.
Sam's
Yes.
sister, like,
oh yeah, we only had her in
racism
episode
in America.
1.
Let's solve that in 3 episodes.
She was on the phone
right?
though. She was on the phone.
She
this
was on the
episode.
phone. You're right. You know what's funny? That reminds me. Like, did anybody else think, like, when that happened, like, why on earth is Sam, like, a professional at what he does, even have his cell phone on him, let alone on where it could vibrate and like turn your phone off, bro?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. That was a good point.
Turn
I'm
your
like,
phone
come on,
off.
dude, turn your phone off.
I don't know. That
Yeah.
just seemed like a
I also
big
got
slip.
the sense in that sequence that he's not very good at being a bad guy. He's such a, even with like the snake venom thing, it was
You're
so
right.
hard for him to drink that drink, and he made some awkward comment like, I love these, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, overplaying it, dude.
I
He's
love
just he's such a good guy that he doesn't know how to be a bad guy.
That's
He's
a good
not-
point. Yeah, because
Yeah.
at
Not
first
as-
I was kind of like, they kind of
Yeah.
just used that as like as sort of like a writing, like, oh, we need to have some way for this situation to move forward. Let's have Sam answer his phone kind of thing.
Right.
But you're right though. That does like, it's just more of that like, oh, poor Sam. He doesn't.
Like for Bucky, it's second nature, quite literally, to be a bad guy because he was a bad guy for like 90 years. And Zemo is a bad guy, but like this does
Right.
not come naturally to Sam.
I love how
at
that
all.
phone conversation played out too. How for like the first 3/4 of the conversation, you're like, "Whoa, this like sounds like it actually works." Like this,
Yeah,
fits.
it's
He's
going
like, yeah,
well,
we
it's
stole
going
so
well,
much
yeah.
money from that bank. I'm gonna kill
Yeah.
that banker. Like, yeah, that was great. I
Yeah.
thought that was funny. All right, guys, it's 4 p.m. So, is there anything else we want to go over about this episode before we kind of just like chat for a few minutes?
One
What
thing
else,
I've
Wendy?
noticed, and I don't know how salient this is or how important, but one thing I've noticed is that Bucky has been developing this pattern of like asking for favors from people he has no business asking favors from. Like obviously he himself has been wronged in the deepest
Mhm.
way, but like when he goes to Isaiah, like between Bucky and Isaiah, Bucky's the one with the privilege, and yet he feels comfortable asking Isaiah for a favor. Same thing with Sharon. Between the two of them, Sharon's the one who's still on the run and hasn't been pardoned.
Pretty
even
much
though
because
her
of
crimes,
him.
yeah, and because of him, even though his crimes were so much worse, and he asks her for a favor. So of course she's like, you know, she has no business, or even Zemo, frankly, who has done bad things on his own, but like is in prison. And because powered people like Bucky killed his family, like Bucky is developing this pattern of like
Well, he did.
asking
He
for
did.
things he doesn't have the
Zemo
right
did
to
screw
ask
over
for.
Bucky, but
100.
that's
Yeah, I mean, my point is though that Bucky is definitely
I-
developing
yeah.
this pattern of asking for help where it hasn't been earned.
Right. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I can
something
see
to
that.
keep our eye on, I think.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, what do we all want? What do you want to see in the next episode? What are you hoping is John? What do you want to see?
Well, okay. Well, we're gonna continue whatever happens with Eye on the Dora Milaje and Wakanda. So we're gonna get that. I think this will probably be next. I think will probably be the episode that John. Probably at the end of the episode, John gets the serum or something with the serum. I think we'll get a heavy tease on that. Yeah, I think they're saving the power broker reveal. I think that'll be saved. Definitely more with the flag smashers and Carly and all that.
What do you think are the chances that we actually don't meet the power
Zemo's
broker
gonna
at all?
turn. Zemo's
Ever.
gonna definitely turn or kind of jab them in the back a little bit in some situations. So
Yeah, we pointed
Yeah.
out that Zemo will only play on their side as long as his interests are
Right.
met.
Yes.
So-
Yeah.
Yes.
and Anthony Mackie has said that he turns very quick. So I mean, we've already gotten a tease of
Yeah.
that basically, but yeah. So
I
I
agree
think
with
where did they
everything.
leave off? We left off. I forget the location. That
Well,
they
I
are
think
in.
They're still in Munich, right?
Is it?
They're
Others?
in Madripoor. Carly's in Riga, Latvia.
No, when they were with
No, we're-
Bucky at the end there, right before
Yeah.
Io shows up. It's that's
Oh,
Munich,
yeah.
isn't it?
Are they
Where
back
he's
in
like,
Munich?
"Oh,
Munich?
I'm gonna go
I'm not
take
sure.
a walk." Yeah, that's not Madrid.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Yeah,
maybe
um,
they're back in. Maybe they're back in Munich. No, I'm
Yeah,
not
that's what I
positive
thought.
myself.
Wherever
Anyone
they,
knows, tell us.
where did why did they go to that place? Because Sam and Zemo were walking into this
Yeah.
house, and then was it
And
like
Bucky
Zemo's
sees
place?
the little. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Was it
that's a good
Zemo's
question.
place? I don't know, but yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of continue right into that next episode.
Yeah.
with
David Palmer
Bucky.
says Latvia, maybe. Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
where.
I mean, because
Yeah, I think
Harley
that's where
was
it was.
in Riga,
Yeah.
Latvia for
Yeah.
sure,
Yes, that's it.
which
That's
is where
it.
she's
Yep.
from.
Yeah.
I agree with everything John said. I think if the power broker reveal happens at all, it might be safe. We might not find out. But if that does happen, I think that's going to be like an 11th hour, like last episode kind of revelation.
I'd say episode 5 or
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
coming next week, I don't think.
No.
But I think
Right.
I think and I hope that we're going to find out more about what the Dora Milaje and Wakanda
Yep.
are up to. And
Yes.
I really hope we do a deep dive on like John Walker's deterioration, his
Yeah.
psychological
Do
deterioration.
you
Yeah.
think we're gonna have Dylan? Do you think we're gonna have any named character casualties?
Named character casualties? Not yet.
Yes.
I don't think so. I mean, we could probably get some more on the Flag Smashers side, I think. Maybe.
But we think Sam, Bucky, you think Zemo is gonna be alive by the end?
Oh, by the end of the show?
Yeah,
Do you
that's
mean?
what I'm saying. Do you think we're gonna have deaths,
Zemo.
main character deaths?
I think Zemo, his time could definitely be up by the end of this show. Maybe on his own accord. Not like a sacrifice, but he's just like, you know what? Like, I don't know.
I think he'll make it out. I think he's going to form a team of his own, to be honest.
I don't see
Avengers
either
of his
Sam
own.
or Bucky or John could totally at the end
But
of the show.
Doesn't
be killed
Zemo
or-
say specifically like superheroes can't exist? So I don't think he's gonna start his own superhero squad. That doesn't
No,
make
true,
sense.
true.
Yeah.
Unless he, for some
that's
reason, I have a weird, not
Maybe.
theory, but like idea that he's gonna join the Flag Smashers, and like for some reason throw away
I
his
thought of
ideals
that. Yeah.
and be like, hey, I can actually just use this to further my ideals. That
Yeah.
the serum, which is a total 180 from his.
Yeah, which is actually interesting
Yeah.
because some people have pointed out how like well, Sharon Carter's a good example. How she's definitely not the same character that when we left her off last in Civil War, right? So she's a whole new person now. So it makes sense that like 5, 6, 7 years later, and through a blip, that even Zemo might be a different person, or can like you don't want to necessarily
sure.
just have characters be, one dimensional. They just stay the same character forever. Like
Right.
it's interesting.
And
to see
well,
people
before
change and evolve.
he didn't have allegiance to any super soldiers, or I mean, when he killed all the super soldiers that were left in Civil War, like he didn't have any. I guess he did have the means to control them. But
yeah, no, that was his goal. Well,
I
So
actually kind
one of
of
his
like
goals.
that theory, Dylan. I don't think there's that much ideological difference
between the two.
well, maybe ideological difference, but I think their motivations, their underlying motivations, Zemo and the Flag Smashers are very similar in that they've suffered. They have
Yep.
suffered personally at the hands of all this superhero enhanced person stuff. Like all of the bad things that have happened to them and their families and their people are because of this like otherworldly stuff going on. And I think both of them ultimately would prefer a simpler world, whatever that means.
100%, yeah.
So I think there are actually some like philosophical underpinnings that he and the Flag Smashers share. And, maybe he has his own little team of criminals or something at the end of
Masters
Also,
of Evil.
I mean,
Masters
he-
of Evil. Yeah.
He knows about like the power broker. He could help them out there. He has a lot of insight in all this kind of stuff. Like I could totally see them maybe not having perfect ideological like similarities, but I could totally see them like for the greater good of their own morals or ideas to just band together. And then that also adds to Sam and Bucky like breaking them out, and that's like a real bad thing, like they just created another terrorist basically, or they just added even worse.
Well, again, I think it makes more
already
sense
there
why
in
Bucky
the eyes
would
of the
be
US
completely
anyway.
willing to do that was the Wakanda reason. So
yeah, I really
Yeah,
agree
yeah.
with you there, John. I really think that's a good theory.
yeah.
Right. But Zemo's slimy, he could
He's
he
a
could
slime
slip
ball.
his way out of
Slime
this.
ball.
It's clear
Especially-
he has like lots of underworld connections, like not even just the criminal. I mean, the fact that he like knew where to go.
Oh yeah, and he also had like, you know what? You're right. It is Latvia because like they literally mention on the plane like, oh, like Latvia is where she's from or whatever, and Zemo
Yes.
right away is like, oh,
So
I have
they
a
went
place.
after her. They were
Yeah,
following
yeah.
her trail.
So
Okay,
like he
that
also
makes
like
sense.
has a place everywhere that they might need to go.
Wait,
like,
it's
'cause
Latvia?
he's-
Right.
That's interesting, because isn't that where Doctor Doom rules?
Is Dr. Doom
you're
from Latvia?
right. You're right. He is from Latvia. I think.
What?
I think it's too early now.
Okay, no, I don't
too
want to
early.
say
We can't
because
go
there's
down
not gonna
this
do that.
rabbit hole.
That's like
but-
5
No,
years
it's
from now,
Latveria.
man.
Sorry, it's Latveria. Is it
Oh,
Latvia or
this is a
Latveria?
Latvia is a made-up country,
Yes.
probably for
okay.
the comics. Latvia is a real country
Okay.
Yeah, Latveria.
in the Baltic states.
I did get scared. I was
you
like,
just
what?
got me like so
It
excited.
just
I do
sounds
think
more-
no, Doom is coming for sure, but we
Yeah,
obviously
with
So
the
know
that's
Later
that.
some.
on,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, there's a Fantastic Four movie which is happening in like 2023 or 2024 or something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it's
Because
been
that's like
announced,
we've
so-
already talked about
I
this on the
cannot
stream
wait
before
for
about how
Doom.
like
Yeah,
I
Doctor
hope they
Doom
make
is
him
going to
actually
be
good.
like he's the biggest bad of them
He's
all.
such a big bad.
I hope
Yeah.
they make him actually good this time, though.
That'll be like a whole. I feel like that's probably going to lead to a whole new internal franchise. Like we had 3 Iron Man movies and 3 Captain America
Oh, yeah.
movies.
Oh, we'll have 3
know,
Bond
I
Doom
wonder
movies.
if we'll have like a whole Fantastic Four thing within the MCU. We only have one of them
Before
that's
Fantastic Four
announced.
movies.
Right, 4 of them.
Yeah.
4. But I mean, they've only got one announced for Phase 4, and it's like the last property that's going to be released during Phase 4. So it's like way down the line. We don't know anything about it yet.
Right.
I don't know how far into the pre-production process.
Yeah, I'll
they are,
probably
but,
get
like,
X-Men by
we
there,
don't know.
mutants by then.
Right.
Yeah.
So like
Who's,
lots of other stuff will happen, but I wonder if that'll be like, because we're done with so many of the other trilogies, etc. I wonder if that'll be like a new ongoing story for next phase.
Yeah,
Of
and don't forget also that like in Fantastic Four, there's like each character, like the Thing, right? There's the Human Torch. You could potentially have like trilogies for each of those characters. Like,
Oh
it's-
yeah,
Right.
individually.
I mean,
Yeah,
they've
that'd,
got-
be, that'd be interesting actually.
yeah, because
Right,
you don't
I
have
mean-
Avengers without Iron Man and Thor.
true,
And
it's
yeah,
true.
so it's,
right.
hey man, Marvel has got like basically like infinite content like to come in the future.
So
That's super
much.
exciting
That's
just
true,
to think
it's
about.
true.
One more thing I wanted to mention was also like we got one like mid-credit sequence halfway through WandaVision, and then we
Oh.
got one at the last episode, and we haven't had one yet in Falcon and Winter Soldier, have we?
I was gonna
We're
say, did I
keeping our
miss
eyes
something?
on it. We
I was-
learned
I
our
was
lesson
about to-
last
I thought you were
time.
about to say,
We'll
oh, there
watch
was a
it.
scene. I was like, what?
I was gonna say that makes me think that we're gonna get a post-credit sequence in this next episode. As
could,
the,
yeah.
the mid-season,
Possibly.
the mid-season
Mm.
post-credit sequence.
The
or
other
whatever.
thing, though, in WandaVision that doesn't apply to this show is that WandaVision was also true to format. And part of the reason we didn't get one for the first 3 episodes was that it was a sitcom, and the whole thing was a meta sitcom as well. Like it was operating within format. And then when we got to episode 4 of WandaVision and we saw like what was happening with Sword and everybody, we returned to the MCU. And we
Oh.
returned to like an MCU format, which includes credit sequences.
I just remembered how
So-
this episode, the first thing you see was that commercial, which immediately we were like, "Holy crap! This is like WandaVision that they're doing this like."
And it was
commercial."
so
Oh, yeah.
sinister. The
yeah.
fact
What
that
was it?
he like lulled.
GNC?
Yeah,
the
only like it's not like in
GRC,
Wanda's
it was like the
imagination or whatever.
global
It was like supposed to be an
recreation.
actual commercial.
Let's talk about that briefly. I know we're like close to time, but like really
No,
briefly.
we can spend as much time as we want. I just
this
wanted to.
global repatriation council and the fact that there's this like peaceful piano music like lulling you to sleep. It's like you're being hypnotized. I think
Yes.
of like Brave New World where everyone takes
There's all like
soma.
stock footage too. It was funny.
Yeah,
It was,
but,
like,
I mean,
stock video.
But so I just think of like this populace being lulled to sleep or like made complacent.
Yes.
But it's like they're promising something, this better life that isn't real. We've seen this is a tough world to live in the actual real world and in the universe in the MCU.
But
at this
correct me
moment
if I'm
in time.
wrong, though, Jenny. Wasn't that commercial seemingly kind of directed at people that were unblipped? And it
Yes,
didn't.
it was the people who
wasn't a message to
reappeared.
people that were here already, which is
No,
plays to
it
that,
was like look, repatriation. We're gonna
Mhm.
bring you,
Yeah.
and
that plays into that
repatriation
Carly
specifically
Morgenthau
means-
philosophy of like,
But think
like
of what that word means. Repatriation means returning to your country.
yeah.
So I mean, and they've reestablished borders apparently between countries, which it's
That's
not
so
a good
interesting,
thing or
yeah.
a bad thing. Explicitly, characters have different opinions about this, but there is something. I mean, returning you to your country is also deportation. So there's some nuance in that. We don't know what exactly is up with that, but somebody in the comments of our reaction had been like, oh, we saw this peaceful piano music commercial and immediately followed by this sinister black
Yeah.
van with the GRC
Well, then
logo.
John Walker freaks out, and yeah, it's this whole.
It-
Yeah.
There's something really, I mean, we don't know how the government, the US government, the world government is handling things, but there might be some really shady under the table things
Oh yeah,
going
no, there
on with
definitely
people
is.
who have
Yeah,
been brought
no
back.
doubt. No
So,
doubt.
you know, these folks could, the governments that are involved could be up to something super shady with returning people. And that's something that might potentially
100%.
follow us out of
Yes.
this show into the future of the franchise.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure. Yep.
All right, so like that. Let's wrap up the Falcon and Winter Soldier talk. We can spend a couple minutes if we want to, just talking about other stuff. I know there was a couple things this week, like Bad Batch trailer dropped
Bad
this week. That
Batch.
was yes.
Black Widow trailer just dropped like
And
today.
I didn't see the Black Widow trailer yet.
I haven't seen the Black Widow trailer either. So.
I haven't either, actually.
I have seen it, so I mean, without going too deep into it, I'll say there wasn't like a ton to react to. It's basically like, from what I could see, it's Natasha with her sort of villain assassin family. She has like a makeshift family of like the guy who's running her and the other assassins and runs the Red Room and like some other folks. So it's this like family of criminals. And
Can
that's,
we pull it up? We can watch. Or
I mean,
if you
yeah,
guys
she
want.
makes an
Don't
allusion
want
to the fact that like before she was an Avenger, she did some very bad things. And I think yet again, we're seeing a character who like has been given a second chance, has done some truly, truly awful things, but wants to be good inside and has been given a second chance. And, you know, now we know she's dead, but this just sort of, I guess, gives some backstory. We saw
Bad
a couple
timing.
really cool actors, David Harbour from Stranger Things with a crazy accent that he's doing. is
Red
playing,
Guardian.
like, the
Yeah.
guy who runs her team of assassins.
Yeah, he's
So
awesome.
we got some comedy. It's so,
I think it'll be fun.
you know,
It'll be a good
yeah.
movie. I'm not doubting that, but I mean, it definitely has lost its hype a little bit for me. So
Yeah, me too.
it's kind of a bummer, but because
Yeah,
I mean, the Black Widow movie, there's been push for that for like since I think she made her
what's
debut.
the current
Like,
what's
it's
the
crazy.
current release date for Black Widow?
July
July.
Okay, July.
7th,
Yeah. Okay.
July.
7th or 8th.
And we
So
wow,
it's still
so
3
now
months away still.
Bad
Man.
Batch is only 1 month away now, right?
Yeah,
was
I
it
know.
May 5th? Was it?
I
Oh,
know.
that's
May
wow,
4th.
dude.
First
Yeah.
episode.
So excited,
70,
so excited.
70-minute long episode.
That I
gonna be
heard
awesome.
this. So wait, it's
Crazy,
gonna be
right?
just the first
70
episode
minute-
is gonna be
70
like
And they're
a
minute
minute.
releasing it
pilot.
on May the 4th. That's so
Yes.
Yeah.
cute. That's
And then May the 7th as
70
well.
minutes.
So we
and we're
get
getting 2 episodes that week. May 7th is the Friday of that week. That's another episode.
So we're gonna have like 2 hours of Bad Batch, like right off the bat.
Yes.
Wow.
that's
One
like
week.
a movie almost.
That is a
In 1
movie.
70
week.
minutes could be a movie.
Especially if it's an animated, because animation
Yeah.
is typically
And that's like
shorter
finals.
than-
That's like finals week for me too. So that sucks. But anyways,
no sleep for you.
Oh,
yeah.
good
Oh
luck.
my god, I'm so
Godspeed,
excited
my
for that
young friend.
show.
Oh man.
Oh my god, the
Ooh,
Bad Batch
I'm
show.
so
That
excited.
trailer rocked. Oh my god.
I commented
Yeah.
this on your channel, Mike, but I don't know. I personally am not too worried about it, but I do have some friends that are like, I was really hyped for Bad Batch, but now we got this kid character who could be really, really
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah.
Um,
I hope
I don't know.
not. What I have to, like, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like, I'm obsessed with Star Wars, but the second that came on screen, I was like, oh god, that could be.
I just didn't realize how
I
big
wasn't
of a role she's
that
gonna
bothered
have.
by it, really? Did it
And-
bother you that much?
Well,
it didn't bother me, but it was like I could see. You know what? Maybe it was more just sort of me being like, I can see other people being bothered by this, and then
Getting-
having
yeah,
that becoming
that
a topic
I
that
agree
people
with,
talk
yeah.
about, and then all of
Exactly.
a sudden it's just this like now everyone's talking about how annoying this kid
Yeah,
is, and instead
Because you
of
can't.
just
gonna
No
do
one
it.
can like. You
Omega
can't just
is
like
her
Star
man.
Wars if you're into
well,
Star
not on
Wars.
YouTube because people are have a habit of monetizing talking about how much it sucks. So
Right.
we
But-
don't want to do
Yeah.
that on this channel. We only want to focus on the good stuff. So we're
For
gonna,
sure, and she
Hey,
has a
you
lot
know
of
what?
room
I
to
mean,
be really, really interesting.
Rex,
Like
Rex,
I see so
I
many
said
different
Rex was going to be
theories.
in it, and Rex was literally in the
Yeah.
trailer. I said
Yeah.
it.
I
And
actually
and
missed
that-
Rex the first time. it was blinking.
Yeah,
to
I
miss
saw
it.
that. You had to.
It was.
Yeah,
it was
I saw.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Because
surprised he
after I
wasn't
was
like a big
I didn't see
reveal.
Rex, but you didn't see anyone. You didn't see Ahsoka. You didn't see Emperor. You didn't see Vader. You didn't, Obi-Wan. You didn't see any of those characters. So I'm
So,
hoping we do get
again,
some of that.
A lot of theories that
I'm
Grogu's
thinking
gonna be in the show.
Ahsoka's gonna be in it. Yeah, I heard
Grogu.
Grogu.
Oh my goodness! I never
Would-
thought of that.
I mean, like that.
Because now they have this
How,
whole,
though?
this whole culture of like Baby Yoda fans now that it's like we got to try and get as many
Well,
people to
that's-
watch the
But they,
show
but
as
they,
also-
possible.
they started working on that earlier, even earlier than I think since season 1 of Mando. They've been working on it for
Yeah, but-
years.
But they
Bad
have a
Batch.
plan, And
Yeah,
Right.
here's,
Yeah.
you know
and
what,
here's
I
the
mean,
thing. Here's the thing with
no.
making the girl young, they can use her in future projects if they want to, like,
Do we
if
know
they're
that
trying
we
to make
know
this
for
a
a fact
thing.
that it's a girl? Because I saw people getting confused. Like, is that a boy or a girl?
Yeah, no, it's a girl. Her
Is it a
name is
they,
Omega.
them?
It's Omega.
I was always under, or the kid, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
'Cause-
I was.
It may be kind of a topic that people want to stray from sometimes, but is it like, because Disney has definitely been outwardly, giving fuel to the inclusion aspect of their content and
Yeah.
specifying that characters are they them and that they're
For sure.
gender
There's
neutral or whatever. So I think
this is not Star Wars, but in the Eternals, the character I can't remember the character's name, but the actor Brian Tyree Henry, who is an actor. I'm so excited to see him because he is such a good actor. He's the co-lead in the show Atlanta opposite Donald Glover, and he just does not get enough love. He's playing a character who is openly gay and married. And it's the first time that is happening. Like I said, in the one shot, it was clear that Justin Hammer.
I want to see an Eternals trailer, by the way.
But I do too.
What is going
There's
on?
like 900 amazing actors
happening?
in this film. I don't know.
But the
That
film
was
looks huge.
announced that like he's going to be playing an openly gay character.
Yep.
And what I love, I read a deep dive article on this, is that they're not like making that the plot point. It's kind of, he's already gay, he's already married. Any identity issues he's had are not part of this story.
That's perfect.
Which is right. Like, I'm so psyched that that's happening. And I love that actor.
That's great.
So that's coming too. They are definitely like trying to, like Mike said, they're definitely trying to move beyond lip service at this point.
Yeah.
While still like doing their brand thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, it's 4:20. It's that time of the afternoon. There is an herbal remedy calling my name right now. My wife just took off with my kids, so I'm home alone, and I'm you do the math on that one. But anyway, we're gonna end the stream, and we're gonna meet you guys next week for another Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion. I can't wait for the next episode.
I can't wait. I can't even handle all of
Again,
this.
guys, John and Dylan, All New Nerds channel on YouTube. Go over to All New Nerds. You guys have what, like 360 subscribers now?
362.
Yeah, we're trying to get these guys to 1,000.
Congrats, by the way. But,
Oh yeah, Jedi Jive just crossed 1,000 subscribers yesterday. Thanks so much, everybody, for
That's
helping
awesome.
contribute to that and participating in these streams. All you guys that are, I know Christina already left, but David and Hustle Mando, all you guys, I have to look through the Devontae.
You the best.
Yeah, you guys, really, really appreciate you guys being
David
here
and
every week,
David are both always here.
Yeah, man,
Yeah,
we
they're-
really appreciate the participation, and this is the best part of the week for us. We love watching this content and then getting to nerd out with you guys here online. So this is the best part of the week here, and we're looking forward to it next week. And hey, man, everybody have a good week.
100%.
We love
See
you
you.
guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.